Welcome to Wild Country Acres on this fine evening. It is March 16th. It is in the evening. The house is quiet. Everyone is sleeping and everyone is in their room, and now it's mom time. So I thought I would turn on the good old camera and chat with you guys on the planning phase that is garden season 2023. And this is something that I started doing a few years back, and I want to go through it with you guys. Okay, so number one, we are going to look back at 2022, and we're going to look back at our notes. And there's something that I do, and I keep a notebook. It's about halfway full, so I'll have to eventually transition to the next notebook. Is what I do is I keep a notebook on notes of my garden on what's going on. Okay, well, this type of seed isn't germinating very well. This year I have XYZ going on with my tomatoes. I didn't really utilize yada yada. I think I planted the second crop of green beans too late, which actually really happened, by the way. All those things. So that way I can look back in February, March, January when I'm ordering seeds, February or March, depending on the weather. When I'm doing my planning and planning out my session on what exactly I need to change. That brings me to my next point. There's a couple different things that I look at year in behind me. So in 2022, I want to look at what I want to do more of, whether it's permanently or temporarily, what I want to do less of, again, permanent or temporary, what I want to discontinue, and what I want to change and adapt. Now, you could look at that in just about any way in your life, maybe not necessarily just the garden. So maybe write that down and look at it December 31st one year if you're a New Year's resolution or soul searching type of person. I'm more of a, hey, how can I move forward and do better things this year than I did last year? Not necessarily tie myself down to a resolution. Anyways, so again, more, less, discontinue, change and amend, or change and adapt. Those are the things. The other thing that I'm going to look at is where certain plants and crops were planted on my garden footprint and what should be planted in a crop rotational cycle for this year. Now, it's not going to be perfect because I also try to consider some companion planting, what crops are good next to the other crops. It seems like it's a shuffle that it's a losing battle no matter what, but you do what you can. Nothing is ever perfect. The other thing I have to consider, and this is not for everyone, is that I am a recovering perfectionist and control freak. And if there's one thing about gardening is you can't be a control freak to a certain extent because there's some things that are totally out of your control. And again, life lessons in the garden, right? So moving forward, I am going to go through a few things that I actually made notes for myself for reflection of 2022. All right, so I want to do more of a first crop of green beans. Last year, I tried to do less of a first crop with the intent of doing a second crop. My job got crazy. Life got crazy. I didn't get the second crop in time. Excuses. So the frost came before I was able to ever harvest anything. So the pigs and the chickens got my very withered, frost, horrible looking plants that were just about to give me some beans. Anyways, The next thing is to make sure that I get my pole beans in on time. I have a whole bunch of teepee-like structures with branches that we grabbed out of our woods and tied up in a teepee shape. I need to get those in the ground a whole lot sooner. I waited too long and they didn't have enough time for their full potential to give me what they should have. So, and plus they have so many beautiful flowers and they're great for the pollinators. So need to get those. I want more of them, but I also need to put them in on time. I want more spaghetti squash. I want to be able to eat a spaghetti squash every week during the fall, winter, and spring months. So, fun fact, they store ridiculously well. So last year I had 1 or 2 spaghetti squash that I put in my cool, unfinished basement out of the sun, obviously. And I cut it in half and ate it in March or April, and it was still good. So I have several left right now. And I just absolutely adore spaghetti squash, and my family actually likes that type of squash, that type of winter squash. So I want to be able to have more spaghetti squash for not just my family, but also for several of my loved ones, my friends and family who really also like spaghetti squash. And I want to be able to gift them some more as well. The next more is cucumbers. So some of the canning items, I find myself on a every other year rotation. So last year I did not can shelf-stable pickles. I always do refrigerator dills, and I keep them in the refrigerator, and we still have some. Some people say they're only good for X amount of time, but ours last for a really long time. However, the pickles that I currently have on my shelf, we need to finish the rest of them up. They are from 2021. 2022, we did not pickle anything. 2023, we will. So that is something that we need to grow more of, is cucumbers, pickling cucumbers. And also last year, I did not grow any slicers, that type of cucumber that's not just for pickling. And I want to grow some slicers this year. And then I'm also really, really excited about a certain cucumber that's not really a cucumber. And I'm not going to get into that right now because I can't, and that's part 2. So more to come on that. I'm really excited to show you guys just a few of them.
Oh boy!
Next thing is broccoli. I want to freeze more broccoli. I want to grow more onions because they store really well. I do Red Zeppelin and Patterson variety, and they store very, very well. And I want more in my pantry so I can use them over the winter and fall and spring. The other thing that I want to grow more of is herbs, because if I were to have flowers or herbs, I'd do herbs, because a lot of herbs are flowers and they smell amazing. To me, the smell of summer is basil. Basil's amazing. Give me a thumbs up and comment below which is your favorite type of basil, because basil, I love basil. Okay, so speaking of flowers, I want to grow more flowers. And then basil for tea. I just wrote that too. So I want to make some of my own basil tea this year. More tomatoes, but further spaced apart. Very important. I had some issues last year. More purple tomatillos. I made the most amazing purple tomatillo salsa. Oh, so good. And then on to the next category is less. I am going to plant less potatoes because we have more seed potatoes than we know what to do with. More seed potatoes than we know what to do with. I'm growing less cabbage because we are not canning sauerkraut this year. Fermenting and canning sauerkraut this year. I'm going to plant less jalapenos because we are canning and pickling and canning less jalapenos this year, but we'll probably grow some extra other varieties of peppers because I love peppers. And then the other one is discontinue. So discontinuing, I wasn't a fan of kohlrabi, you guys. Maybe I'm missing the boat on something, but wasn't a fan of it. Took forever. I probably did it wrong. Probably user error. I'm not going to do rutabagas. I liked rutabagas. We just didn't use them very much. Maybe I didn't use them to their fullest potential. Probably could have done something different with them, but I want to use the space in my garden wisely. And then the other thing is cauliflower. My husband loves cauliflower. I'm not a big fan of it. I probably could freeze it. This year, I'm going to skip it because I kept forgetting to watch certain steps in the harvesting process, and then they just flowered and the bugs loved them. The other thing, which might surprise some of you, sweet corn. I am not going to grow my own sweet corn this year. The reason being is we live in farm country. We know lots of people who grow their own sweet corn, and we can buy it from them, and sometimes it is gifted to us for very reasonable. So no sweet corn. It's a heavy amendment crop anyways, so no sweet corn. All right, change and adapt. Next one, change and adapt. I planted some first crops too late. Now, some of this is weather related, some of it is not. Some of it is just schedule related. I planted some second crops too late as well. So my second crops last year, if I remember correctly, was lettuce, green beans, green onions. And when I say green beans, I mean green beans, purple green beans, and yellow green beans. Beets, which were successful on a small scale, but I only wanted to pickle a few. And I think that, and peas, which also got frosted out. Pea pods, which also got frosted out. So need to plant those earlier. And I made a note to myself to plant the second crops by early to mid-July, probably early July. All right, the next things that I need to change is spacing my tomatoes out further. So tomatoes, when they're close together, and especially if they are not pruned correctly, they can get moldy. You can have blight, which is some of what I experienced last year. It was very unfortunate. I still did okay. I didn't do crazy good. So I want to do whatever I can to make sure that the soil, the garden, everything is healthy and my tomatoes are spaced accordingly. I'm also going to plant my tomato starts deeper. So you can trim off the leaves and your tomato plant will grow roots out of the main stalk. It is really beautiful. I want to make sure that I have the right amendments in the bottom of the tomato hole that I dig for the deep planting, which we can go through that in a different video, a different time. But I want to make sure that that happens. The other thing is I want to plant new varieties of cucumbers, melons, tomatoes, and peppers. So more to come on that. I also want to plant my marigolds earlier too. So my marigolds, I got them in after everything else started blooming, and they started doing beautifully, but later on in the year. I love marigolds, and marigolds, a lot of them you can use in tea. You can feed them to your chickens, and they are really good for a lot of pest control as well. All right. I also, let's see here, another thing in change, adapt is trimming back my strawberry runners. So a runner on a strawberry is like the little escape artist that just goes shoom. And the reason why you want to trim that is you want to be able to make sure that the plant is concentrating on the fruit and the blossom and then the fruit more than growing that extra green. You can trim that extra green and you can propagate your strawberries, but you want to make sure that the plant that you're establishing, the whole reason for planting a strawberry is not for the greenery, it's for the fruit itself, and they're so delicious. All right. The other thing is there's a bug. That's not what the other thing is. The other thing is when it comes to other notes that I wrote down, I want to dehydrate more tomatoes, thus wanting more tomatoes in the garden. I want to ferment more tomato sauce. There's this really amazing fermented tomato basil sauce that I use that is so good and so fresh. And you pull it out in the middle of winter and it's so red and smells so aromatic. I smell a vision. I wish it was a thing. Let's see here. I'm going to continue to make sure that I'm doing a fall crop for my beets only. It's nice to have something as a fall crop, a second crop for something that I'm pickling or harvesting, not necessarily everything in the middle of summer. And I really like doing the fall crop pea pods, fall crop lettuce, and I want to try doing some storage cabbage this year. So we have plenty. Oh my gosh, we did 45 pounds of cabbage into sauerkraut and then canned it and froze it. We do not need sauerkraut for 2023. But I do want to play around with storage cabbage and storage carrots. I was gifted an older refrigerator freezer that we put in our basement. And I want to put things like my goat's milk in there this summer. I want to put storage cabbage in there. I want to put, what's the other thing? Oh, carrots, storage carrots in there, and apples. We also have an apple tree, so I want to put apples in there as well. And hopefully I can get those things to store many months into the season. Our basement does not stay cool enough, and we don't have a root cellar, unfortunately. So that is a goal of mine. All right, so now that we have part of that planning done, what I'm going to be doing next, and I'll probably show you guys what it looks like here. I have what the map of my garden, I don't know if it's gonna work very well, generally looked like last year. There's a few things that I had to change last minute. So the reason why this is so important is because I want to understand where things were so I can plant accordingly in a healthy rotation. So something that I found online that has a whole lot of notes and stuff on there is the crop rotation goes from legumes, so beans, peas. This says potatoes. Leave me a comment. Tell me if you think that's a legume or if you think that's a root vegetable. And then from legumes goes to where the roots are. The root vegetables go to where the fruit was, like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, squash, melons, yada, yada. And then the fruit goes to where the leaves were, and the leaf goes to where the legumes are. So that's the rotation that I've been following, and it's worked out pretty good. It's hard. Sometimes it's difficult to follow that rotation and to somewhat follow a crop rotation as well. I have a very messy scratch piece of paper with a whole bunch of my companion planting charting. And sometimes you just can't make everyone happy. It's like everything, human beings. You can't make them all happy. But I really try to follow that. And again, I suffer recovering perfectionism and control freak. So bear with me on that one. So that is what I have. And I still need to figure out that. But that is more to come. What the next thing that I did is I went through all my seeds, like I said before. I grabbed a few. You could grab a box, you could grab a bag, you could grab whatever you want. But I found in our old camping supplies a nice bag, and I just labeled it 2023 seed starts. Now, I'm going to have 2 bags for 2023. One's going to be for seed starts, and one is going to be for direct sow. And direct sow means directly into the garden. So there are certain things that I'm not going to start indoors. The things that I'm going to start indoors, and if you need help on this, look at the back of your seed packet. It will tell you. It should tell you. Hello, Editing Janine here. So one thing that I missed when I was filming is that I take that bag And I put all of my seed packets or bags of Seed Save seeds into that bag to make sure that I have a very clear plan of what I'm starting from seed inside and what I'm starting from seed outside. Now I have that separate bag for the outside starts. We're not starting inside. We're direct sowing those outside ones. But the types of plants that I am starting inside in my zone in Minnesota is herbs, cabbage, broccoli, which is a cousin of cabbage, sweet peppers, spicy peppers, tomatoes, and flowers. So just wanted to be very clear on that. That is the planning portion of this session. I am going to have probably 2 more of these types of videos. We are going to have we're going to go through every single seed that I'm going to start. But I also, guys, when I was just starting out, I didn't get anything fancy. You want to know what's still in my pile? Who can tell me where these are from? Come on. Okay. Who can tell me where these are from? Huh? Come on, camera. There we go. These are from the Dollar Tree. Now, I counted in here. There is more than 60, yes, 60 seeds in this little packet. I guarantee you're at least, well, I can't guarantee you. I'm pretty certain you're going to at least get 20 tomato plants. Let's say you got all 60, and there's more than 60 in here. I did the math. It's 0.4% of a cent per plant. This packet was 25 cents and there are 60 seeds. Pretty sure it's 0.004 is 0.4% of a cent. I know not everyone on God's green earth has a green thumb. I know not everyone came from a farming, gardening, growing, anything background. I didn't. But I am very certain with just a little bit of thought and a little bit of water and soil and maybe a YouTube video or so, you could grow a couple of these and not have to buy tomatoes at the grocery store for a whole summer. Possibly even ferment some or save some in a mason jar that you canned over the winter. Possibly. Not for everyone. Totally get it. 25 cents, folks. 25 cents. Think about that one. Just think about it. Not excuses. Think about how you can make it work. So, that being said, as I drop the mic, the next video that I do is going to go through all of the seeds that I plan on doing and not just the ones that I'm super excited about. So you guys understand which one is which and which ones I've done and which ones I haven't and all of the gory details just for the starts and maybe some of the other ones too. It's just going to be a big old seed video, but mostly focusing on the started seeds inside. That's a tongue twister. Then the next one after that is going to be how I start my seeds inside and what my setup looks like and what I've grown over the past 3 years. This is my third year, third year, something like that. And then also, after that, it's going to be how do I transplant them? How do I get them into the ground? What do I do in between planting them and having them growing in my living room or dining room and then putting them in the ground? So there's going to be at least 3 or 4 different videos. Stay tuned. Really excited to be meeting with you guys on all of them. And gals, sorry, I say you guys, I mean you all. Really excited to be meeting with you all on these videos, and hopefully you will find it not just entertaining by this crazy farming convert, but maybe you'll pick up a thing or two and you can grow something yourself. Have a great evening. Thank you. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome to Wild Country Acres on this fine evening. So it is March 16th right now, and I do believe it is still snowing. And I'm pretty certain my camera is trying to focus on my cat right now. Stop focusing on my cat. Probably less after I edit some of the blah, 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 out. Oh, it's gonna do it again. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna see if I can okay. So I'm gonna go like, okay, starting over. I want to talk to you about planning phase. Can you tell I'm tired?